Hello everyone, I'm Ross.
Hello, it's Rue here.
And welcome to another episode of Hombu Dojo podcast. We're jam-packed full of guests. We have Scott Sensei, who we all know and love. We have Jean Phillipe, all the way from Canada. And we have our special guest, Guy Brodeur Sensei, 7th Dan from Canada. So. How are we all doing, guys?
Pretty good, yourself?
Very good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
I'm here for the crisps and beer.
Yeah.
So-
We'll see if you can keep quiet.
That's the plan. So how have you been finding Dublin today? You've been
Walking
about the
a lot and eating and drinking and walking and enjoying the weather. Actually, it's a beautiful day today. It's a sunny blue day.
I've been in this hellhole all day, so I wouldn't know anything about the nice day.
Yeah, same. Teaching private classes, grading coming up on the weekend. Busy boys.
Thank you, sir.
Carry on.
Sorry, we're just adjusting the microphone so it's further away from Scott. So I can't talk.
Well, sorry, was the munching of the crisps too much for you?
When you talk, it's fine. Guy Sensei is quite soft-spoken, so I just needed
okay.
to move that microphone there. Try
I can speak a little louder if you want.
please do.
Je peux parler un peu plus fort.
I'll try
can
to
talk a little
masticate
bit.
less.
Just eat something less noisy. Just chew your Corona.
So Guy says this is the second time you've been in Dublin. You were
Yes,
here
sir.
last year.
I had a fantastic time last year
Yeah?
with you guys. Yes, I really loved it.
And is it something that you do often? Do you travel a lot?
Not enough.
Not enough.
I have to. Yep, that's right. Not enough. I do have a couple of seminars outside of the country this year, and might had some after April. I know I have another one in at the end of April or beginning of May in Minnesota. And besides that, it's going back to Sensei's T-Vubal in end of August, like
End
I
of August.
usually do. Yeah.
Excellent.
You guys are going there next week.
Next week, yeah. What advice? What advice can you give us to get the most out of the training?
To get the most out of training, well, stay in your bubble.
What do you mean by that?
Meaning, you concentrate on what he's saying, but you have to concentrate on yourself. You have to be almost, the right word is not what I'm going to say, but egotistical. You're only thinking about yourself all the time
Yeah.
and
Not a
not
problem.
thinking of somebody else.
That's no problem whatsoever.
That's it, because the information might be overwhelming sometimes, and he will see stuff into your technique that a microscope would, but he doesn't need one because he's a human microscope.
Yeah.
He'll find anything on you, and yeah.
I mean, I think like going into my attitude is that, you know, he'll teach at, and there'll be a certain point where the level and you physically won't be able to do what he's asking you to do, or whatever you like. No matter how hard you try, it's not going to be what exactly.
Well, the
what he
thing
wants.
people are trying too
Yeah.
hard, and the two poisons in training is speed and power. If you take that away and you look at your technique as a slow motion movie, you might be able to find out what's wrong and repair.
Yeah, I remember training. Last time I trained with him was in Staten Island, and he always warms up with that same combination, that same drill, with that sort of
The rotation.
Yeah,
thing, yeah.
yeah.
The
The Ubel punch, that's what
Yeah.
we call it, yeah. Ubelzuki, yeah. And I remember going, like, he always says, like, he always spends the first half of the class telling everyone, slow down.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go, like, as slow as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And then he, like, I got a wee pat on the shoulder, you know, and I was like, oh, so he wants us to really go as slow as we can. It's not just slower, like, take it easy. It's literally move in slow motion.
Exactly, because the body timing is not there usually.
Mm.
It's always one part goes, the other part goes afterwards, and people don't feel it. They just feel they have power in their techniques, but no, it's not. It's not working like that.
Yeah.
And when you start doubting your power, you're starting to put power in your doubts. Ka-ching.
Does it count as a sensei moment if you're enjoying it as much as everybody else?
This is gonna go.
It's a mystery man.
How many of those quotes do you have ready for this seminar tomorrow?
And I am going to use it. Oh, wow.
Oh, God.
Anything else?
Well, I've never heard anybody say that about the two poisons in karate, speed and power.
Yeah.
Because we talk about speed and power all the time in this dojo, as if it's a good
Yeah.
thing. So what did you mean by
If your
that?
mechanics are good, yes. But if your mechanics are badly timed, it's like the timing of the motor is not running fine, but you're still pushing the motor, the gas pedal at the bottom of it, and you hear clunks, and it could be better if it was well timed. That's the thing with it.
I see.
Yeah.
So do you ever train with speed and power or teach?
I do.
Oh,
I
yeah.
do. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Usually it's always Tai Chi speed, and I've been doing that for a long time. Doing the cut instead of doing the Tai Chi thing. It's just using the Tai Chi speed to the movement that I need to work at. And if you do not train with, let's say, contact, you'll lack a positive and an automatic response to the feeling, because you need the punching thing as well, and you can be pushing, and just by pushing you'll feel that you're untimed, because can I say that, untimed?
Yeah, sure.
And because I am French, I have to admit that sometimes I miss the words. And so if you're pushing something, say somebody that's heavier than you are, and you're badly timed in your body, and then you do it at the right timing, leg, hip, arm, if it's a punch, all at the same time, and then you feel like you didn't push it pushed hard and it still works well. Well, if you ever played baseball or golf and you hit the ball so well and you look at your friends and you say, I didn't put power into it, and it just went like perfect. The timing of your body was just A1. So
Yeah, I think we had a Kyokushin sensei, and we were doing it at the end of every month, the last Thursday of every month. We have a Kyokushin practitioner coming in with the pad, like the big heavy body shields, and he'll just go through the kind of techniques and drills and stuff that his guys practice on the big heavy bags or pads, and you can see like with some of the Q grades and stuff in the class who maybe haven't trained as much of hitting with impact or hitting properly with full power, you see them trying to lash out, and you can see everything's just disconnected. There's 2 10s, and they're not used to having that feedback. So you see the wrist buckling, their shoulders coming back. You can just see that it's all completely off. So I think doing things like that, I think it's really beneficial. Like actually just practicing hitting can be a big thing, as well as obviously practicing slow. I think practicing being able to hit properly, because one of the things is like, you look at boxing or something like that, those guys never practice to sort of really punch slow in the way that like we're talking about training with Steve Ubo, where we're literally going in slow motion.
That's what mainly people think they're not doing, but some people might have been doing that in boxing as well. It's just we don't see it on tape. It's not you don't do interview and show how slow you are and slow you're working out in front of a camera. You just do the spectacle thing, you just that it has to be fantastic and speedy and powerful. But I've seen Steve do slow punches, and you could feel that, the power behind it, because the body was just, everything was timed together. Muscle groups were just firing at the same time,
Yeah.
So instead of going pow, 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 it's just one thing, just one pow.
Yeah. There was one sensei who only from Japan. I think he only exclusively does slow techniques. Anyway, I can't remember.
Yeah,
who it is.
Isaka Sensei.
Isaka,
Who's independent now, but he was with the KWF for a long time, and then before that he was JKS, so JKA, Asai Sensei Fraction, Isaka. But like I trained with him like every Wednesday for a year, and we did the same menu every Wednesday for a year, where we would do Tetsugeta slow kicks with iron shoes, and then this very strange Gohon Kumite in Kibarachi, where you'd move exceptionally slow. And but once he said he was explaining to the group, he says, "You understand why we do this?" And we were like, "No, we have no idea why we're doing this." And he went, "Oh, Scott, come here." And I stood in front of him, and he went, "I just made this flick of a movement," and he hit me 3 times. I couldn't believe it. He hit me once in the throat and twice in the solar plexus. Like that. I couldn't believe a man of his age moved so fast. And we'd spent the last, at that time, probably 9 months just moving slowly. Unbelievable.
That doesn't check out though. That doesn't add up. Was he doing super speedy training for the other 24 hours of the
you questioning the sensei?
No.
Are you calling him a liar?
No, Sensei. I'm just asking. I thought. I'm just asking. Do you not have to move
It
fast?
didn't sound
in
like
order
you were
to
asking
get faster?
anything. It made you sound like you were accusing me of something.
Well, I was just trying to. I'm just saying, how does that work? If you're never moving fast, how can you be fast?
No, but it's not like you're always doing it slow. It's just you have to operate your body in a way where let your feeling get the catch of what your body is doing while you do it. And there's so many parts of your body that, if you don't think about it, mainly these are the part that your eyes don't see. You don't see your back leg when you hit. You don't see your glutes when you hit, but you have to feel them. Therefore, you need to go slow, and then, okay, I get it now. And I do that sometimes at the gym with the rowing machine, where you have to pull, the two. How do you the
oars?
Yeah, the oars. Thank you. And the legs has to push, and the back has to go backwards, because you're doing the same movement. And I do it sometimes arm, legs, back, separate movement, and then I just add the 2 parts, and then I do the 3 at the same time, and I see the wheel going super fast when I do it, the 3 at the same time, but I'm not pushing and I'm not giving power to it. It's just timed together. It's like 3 friends pushing the same car instead of having 2 or 1 after the other.
Oh, Yosh,
That's a
brilliant
good
way
one
of
too,
putting it,
yeah.
I was like, see, that's the one.
Yeah,
you
this is
should-
going to be
you
a
should
good
emphasize more on that way.
Also, you can't train twitch muscle.
Oh, no.
So if you imagine, like when you click your fingers, like when you're a kid, you practice. But like once you get it, you can't improve on that. Because what you've done is you've managed to lay down the neurological pathways that will allow your body to synchronize the correct muscles to twitch at that point. And no amount of training will increase or decrease the amount of twitch muscles that you have in your body. So for example, a sprinter, when they're practicing, of course they're practicing fitness and speed and everything, but sprinting races are often lost and won on the leaving of the blocks. So a sprinter will practice quite a lot in leaving the blocks. So within a 2-hour period, they will practice leaving the blocks, but they'll only ever leave the blocks 4 times. They will spend 30 minutes practicing the leaving of the blocks, but not on a physical sense, but on a mental sense. And they will visualize the twitching of every muscle in the synchronization that they need to be twitched before actually doing it. And then they'll get to the box, and the coach will watch them, then boom, they'll go. And then they'll come back and go, right, I think you twitched this one too soon, that one too slow. And what they're doing is they're laying down the neurological pathways to twitch the muscles at the right time. And ultimately, like that's what Steve Sensei is teaching. It's not about the physical strengthening of the body. It is about the strengthening of the neurological pathways that allow you to synchronize the muscle groups at the right time in the right order to produce explosive power.
I think I know what you mean. Because when I was learning to play piano a long time ago, I spent months and months labouring over this piece, and I couldn't. I was trying to learn it off by heart because my sight reading was really bad. I was still really young, so I was trying to read the piece and then trying to learn it, and then I had it, but I couldn't play it quick, and I was just playing it slow over and over and over again. I forgot to try to play it quick because I just wanted to learn it, so I kept playing it slowly, and one day I just came back to it, and I sat down and went, boom, and I just started playing it super quick without even thinking about it. so I never had to practice playing it quick.
That's
I had
because
to
you were
practice
playing
it
this
slow.
way.
I was playing it upside down. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's right. Yeah, you needed to-
I don't think that joke works for radio. Sorry.
Finger pointing up instead of fingers pointing down on the piano.
So you in your dojo, you don't just do karate. You do
Jiu-jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, self-defense, Aikido, Kubujutsu, Tai Chi sometimes.
and you teach all of those.
Nope.
You have
Nope.
other instructors
Yeah.
come in.
I used to teach Jiu-jitsu for a while, but now I hire a guy who is much better than I am in Jiu-jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And Aikido is a guy that teaches Aikido. He used to be one of my students till he was Sandan, and then he was already doing Aikido at the time, and now he only does that. And the third guy is Kubujutsu, which is weapons, and talking about like the tonfa, the sai, the bow, and some other ones that I don't know, and I don't know nothing about that, so it's out of my control. The Tai Chi I teach. I used to teach because you need to have a certain amount of people to give classes as well. But the self-defense is I do that in every class I teach karate. There's always a part in there where I teach the self-defense approach to it, because sometimes I think that especially too much traditional karate is keeping you away from, am I going to be able to use that in a real situation?
I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And the conclusion is that, because we talk about it in this dojo a lot, like I think, and the conclusion is that the self-defense aspect is important, but also it's a martial art and you have to have a bit of aesthetic, a bit of art in what you're doing.
That's the art part.
It can be a beautiful thing that you dedicate your life to. So when when people overanalyze and become real karate nerds about the little details and stuff of what they're doing that probably aren't super important when it comes to self-defense and making it just work, just putting your body weight into a technique.
Exactly.
Probably not that important, but in terms of just the aesthetics and just the sort of ritual of trying to perfect it, I think it's a very nice thing.
Having great gymnastics into it and doing it and make it look like you're doing it so easily, like a good pianist or a good guitarist or anything, like everything is easy, and you need a lot of work, and you all know that by now. It's super demanding. If you want to make it look like it doesn't have any effort, you have a lot of effort into it.
Yeah.
I should make another phrase like that, I'll write it down.
Maybe you can have that one ready for the Q&A.
Listen, people, I have to do something about that. Next.
So in your dojo, like, do you have because you have those different martial arts in the dojo, do you, like, obviously it's your dojo, so do you pick and choose, I want someone in teaching this? Is it just demand, like supply and demand sort of thing, or is it?
Well, yeah. Actually, we offer, and we put ads sometimes on the internet, Facebook, and all that, and people just we let them try for free, because some people just for them it's like reading something on a medical bottle, and they have no idea of what Aikido would be, or Jiu-Jitsu and karate. Karate is the thing that people already have a tag on. They know a little bit more of how it looks, and sometimes they did that when they used to be kids, and it was from a different dojo. Now we all know that you change dojo, you change instructor, it might be a total different kind of approach right there.
Yeah.
And they sometimes were very disappointed when they were kids, or they stopped because they couldn't, they didn't have fun after a while. But teaching kids and teaching adolescents and teaching adults is a totally different game.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes you just have to go with check the finger in the air and look at where the wind goes, and you cannot always have a plan on, we're going to do that tonight, because you might be really disappointed, especially with the kids, and you know that as well.
Yeah. And do you think there's obviously a benefit to broadening your horizons and taking part in different martial arts, but I think there's a point where you've got too much going on in your head at once. Do you think it can be a detriment training with different styles?
No.
So much like not at all. You can't
Not
get
at
enough.
all.
Yeah.
No, there's so much stuff to do in karate. You have basic training, the Kion, you have kata, you have the bunkai if you want you're interested in that. You have the kumite training, and then you have the contact training, the control training, the competition training, all that. I mean, and these all have different colors, and you have different taints of that same color that you can work on.
Yeah.
It's endless. I mean, it's endless. You can do how many classes, and they're not going to be looking the same from one class to the other, because you started a class with a group, and then you have a better idea for the next one, and then you have another idea for the next one, and then you change completely because you're tired of doing that class and you're doing something else, and you just spark things in their brains that they go, it's fantastic, it's fun, it's different from the other class. And they're also happy to redo what they started to do a few days before, because they have a second chance of practicing what they did on Monday, but now we're Wednesday and Friday again, and they just get better at it. So it's all good. You redo the things, or you just change completely.
I've been doing grading syllabus for so long, I've forgotten what that feels like. It comes to the grading at the weekend, it's just been like just trying to get them to trying to perfect their what they need to know for their belts and stuff. And that's been going on for
I understand, because you just did the exams, right? Or you will be doing the exams.
Tomorrow.
But I finished it. And this week was just, okay, let's do like self-defense technique on the ground.
It's just
Somebody brings you on the ground. What do? I mean, karate is really good standing up. And in a situation where there's a lot of people around, you don't want to go down on the ground, because you can get being kicked like a soccer ball. But you need to know something on the ground as well, because it's a different art. It's a different science. You need to know what's going on if the guy, brings you on the ground and he's heavier than you are, or you're a girl and you're being attacked by a old, tough, big man. What do? I mean, karate, your kicks won't be working at this distance. You need to know more, and you need to be, in a way, a little bit savage, under control, and it all depends on what's going on in this situation. It all depends on that. You cannot say, oh, if the guy does, we see that often in different instructors. If the guy does that, you do this. If the guy does that, when are you going to know what's going on? We probably will open the door right there, and one night, and the night where you don't feel like being attacked, you just got out of the restaurant, you're full, you don't feel good, and that's where it's going to happen. So,
is that what preoccupies you most when you're teaching or planning a lesson, or is it how effective these things are going to be in a real situation?
Mainly, I will usually look at the person that's the smallest in the dojo when we're talking about self-defense.
Piss off. That was directed at Ross, by the way, folks.
But
Please
continue.
continue,
That's what you need to help the smallest person in the place. And if it works for that person, I'm not talking about the present people here, but you have a small child, a small little girl, or small older woman that she doesn't have the physique to do something, and you have to teach her something that it'll work in 5 seconds, not in 2 years of training. What's the point? It's good. One is good for the exercise, physical exercise, and it's good for, she feels good after that. And the other one is like, I can use that right now? Yeah. Do you need to be black belt? No. You need to do that now, and it's going to work automatically.
I was going to say, I think that's a common misconception with karate, is that, you get to black belt, it's like, you must be able to kick everyone's ass and stuff, but it's that way where the training that we do in terms of like grading syllabus and stuff to get through the grades, they're not going to see the benefits of that until way in the future. It's not,
and that's where it's wrong. That's where it's wrong.
Yeah,
it should be. You should be able to teach something, and explain to the white belt. It's good for you for that reason, but here's the other color of that same technique that you can use. Instead of thinking it's only going to be basic technique, chokozuki, your 2 feet are side by side, and you're hitting. What else can you do with that same technique that'll help you in a real situation that doesn't look like it?
Yeah.
And it often is hidden in plain sight, and the person doesn't see it. Most people don't.
And that's where I think, like, cross training with other martial arts, that, like, for example, jiu-jitsu is all about, you get that immediate tactile feedback because you're practicing with partners all the time, you're rolling all the time, you're putting them into certain positions and locks, and you're getting the partner's feedback of, is it working, is it not working, straight away.
Yeah.
And I think that when you're cross training and stuff like that, it can always give you, like, new ideas
And
new insight into your own martial art.
And too much of that training that we do in traditional karate is hitting hair molecules.
Yeah.
And there's not enough punching into something that's really in front of you. At all the distance are good. It's not, and you know, you have people who've been training for 20 years, punching, and the arm is totally straight, and for them, the power is at the end of that punch, where the real situation, the guy could be in the train while we just came in in the trolley, or what'd you call that? What'd you call that?
The Lewis.
The Lewis, exactly. And the guy is just next to you, and he wants to attack, or he wants to, grab your Doritos. I don't know. You want to defend your Doritos.
Yeah.
And he's glued to you, or it's the same technique should be used in that.
Yeah. It's like that double-edged sword. Like Scott Sensei always says it to us when we're training. One of the biggest strengths in karate is the amount of kihon that we do in Shotokan karate, because it makes it very difficult to create power and connect your body in these long stances, these big positions. Mm-hmm. But when we can do it, that's a massive benefit. But it's the biggest weakness, because we do too much of that and not enough of practicing that sort of the in-between spaces and how to make the in-between spaces work.
And after a while, you see people that have been doing that for 10, 20 years, and they're too close to hit somebody, and they bend their back in the back direction so they can have a straight punch.
Yeah.
Instead of using it.
No, exactly. But yeah, so that to me is totally agree with everything you're saying there. But what's interesting to me is some people, when they talk about bunkai or application or cross training, they say that, for looking at it from kata, for example, it's very specific techniques, and it can be very difficult to make those techniques applicable in real life scenarios, real life situations, especially with Shotokan, where it's become so stylized. So what do you say to people who say that? Do you think that every technique in every kata has a working purpose, or do you think some of it's too stylized and you wouldn't apply it, and when you apply it, it doesn't have any sort of it doesn't really look like the technique anymore, you're changing it a lot, or do you try and make it all work within the form?
Well, my point of view on that is you have to think out of the box, and if you follow the Enbusen, which is the plan of the kata and the direction that the kata shows, which is supposed to start and finish at the same place, you'll be the most miserable person on earth because nothing will happen that way.
Yeah.
The guy can hit you from behind, can hit you from the side, in front of you, 45 degrees behind or in front, and you have to do something with it. And you follow the Enbusen again, and you still move the same way as the kata shows. And that's one thing that Steve said many times, and it took me a while to understand, which you practice, I can't try to remember that phrase in English. Practice the principle, but don't apply the principle, or something like that he used to say. And I asked him to repeat that again often, but it's like you're doing a drawing, but you cannot apply that drawing perfectly because you don't know the start of that story. We're planning always, like you start at left, and it might be totally different, and the person is not in front of you, he's not in the back of you, he's on the side of you, and the hand that's supposed to do the technique is not the hand that's going to be helping you actually. It's
Yeah.
the other one that
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be doing the show. It's like the magician. He shows the left hand that does the show, but it's the right one that does the job.
Yeah.
Or the foot, or the way it moves, the direction of your feet. And we forget about the feet while we do the technique because the show is being done by the hands, like a gedanbarai, for instance. But what can you do with your feet while you do that?
Do you think perhaps that for most people, knowing kata is more of a hindrance than a help? Knowing kata, just people. So if you know all Shotokan's 26 kata, you just have so many boxes that you need to, or so many pegs that you want to get inside a certain shaped hole. Whereas things aren't always going to fit, and people who don't know that or who don't apply the ideas that you're talking about are just getting bogged down all the time, and maybe they'd be better off without kata at all.
Good question. I'd say kata is a good start in a way, because most people don't have imagination. They don't. They let people imagine for them. They watch the sensei, and the sensei is the big light over them, and the information comes from them, from the sensei. But they don't take the time to study what can be done outside of there. And the sensei usually, and I'm not saying about people here, but most sensei, they just do what their sensei was telling them to do, and it goes from that generation to another generation and another. But there's no study of what can happen in this situation with the movement that I'm doing right now. And it's tough to use a good imagination if you don't have a little bit of fighting spirit into you. Most people are gentile, they're nice people, they're doing karate for the fun of doing karate, but they don't have a mad bone inside of them. I don't know if you catch what I'm saying
Yeah,
about
I
that.
understand, yeah.
They don't have the fighting spirit.
Yeah.
And they only imagine that people are going to be standing in front of them in a gedanbarai position and attack with oizuki. And they don't think of the guy could just grab them by two hands or grab the shoulder or push them like it usually starts a fight, like a brawl. Yeah. It pushes. And what can you do in that situation?
That's one of my pet peeves with application is when it starts with the classic reach
Wrist
forward
grab.
and grab the wrist. That drives me crazy on the inside. Because I'm always just like, nobody's... Every unfortunate altercation I've seen or been a part of, I have never seen that happen ever in my life.
Maybe somebody wants to steal your phone.
I mean, who knows? But yeah, the grab, like,
Yeah.
he reaches down and grabs my... So he's leaning forward, grabbing the wrist, rather than, always, it's always grabbing the neck and going for the punch or
the
something,
arm.
or
the arm.
or the
You'd
shoulder
have
or
an
something,
adult
yeah.
taking or grabbing a kid. You will grab him by the arm and something like that, or by the shirt. Or what do you do if he grabs you by the hair? I usually say if somebody grabs you by two hands, well, two hands are occupied. You still have four limbs. What can you do with your own four limbs out of that? And you have a headbutt, and you have all that, and you have the nasty stuff. But you have to be in control of every part of that body.
And do you think that imagination that comes with, having a little bit of madness in you, the imagination of what if somebody really comes at me like this, and what can I really do to hurt this person or to, prevent harm from coming to myself?
If you're really in a bad situation, yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And that type of imagination, can it be trained, or do you think some people just have it and some people don't? Not trained, but can you inspire people?
All of the above.
Yeah?
Yeah. All of the above. Most people don't, but some people will learn it because they're open to receive that sort of information. They might not do it naturally. And some people, you just say, gouge an eye, and fine. Oh, there's an ear right there. And you just take it away because they see it. So, but you have to be a little bit of a maniac if you're thinking this way. But it's actually life-saving situation. It's not like, he called me a liar, he called me a bad name or something. He cut me with his car, like we were talking to together today. You know, like somebody cuts you with your car. You know, are you going to go after him and kill him because of that? In the States, maybe, but not here. You know, and you have to come back to your own sense and say, you know what? If it happens and I have to hit somebody because of that, I'm going to go to jail because I'm the guy who's got the karate knowledge, and I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to be spending time in jail, or I'll lose my reputation as a karate instructor. No, I don't want to do that. Yeah, bless you.
That happened to McGregor's Taekwondo coach.
Really?
Yeah, he was got caught at a pub or something, and some guy started away, pushed him. The guy fell over and cracked his head on the curb, and that was
anything
it.
can happen.
Into jail.
Yeah.
You go. Simple as that.
Like that. Have you
It's
ever
tough
seen?
for
Don't
guys
do
like
it,
that
kids.
not to do
It's
it.
not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in your dojo, the maniacs learn faster. Is that right?
I don't have a lot of maniacs. I have to be,
pity.
you know, yeah, no. But it's always like,
Another
pillow
classic
te-
radio
pillow
joke there.
They didn't.
yeah. So
Scott's physical comedy today has been excellent. It's a shame that if you can see it.
Too bad the podcast audience aren't getting any. Oh.
yeah, most people, they just are nice people, and it's better this way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's way better this way. It's just that if you're to teach karate, you have to watch at who you're teaching karate to, and are they ready for that kind of approach? And if they say yes, well, they have to be open to sometimes very physical and not nice and very nasty things. And it's life defending situation, not fun thinking out of the bar and the guy just drops beer on you.
Mm-hmm.
So what?
No, there's no. Obviously, that doesn't call for violence.
No.
So
In kata would be the same approach. You'd have a lot of different ways of doing bunkai, which you can go from defending to being nastier and nastier and nastier all the time.
yeah. And so what we're saying is, Sean, if you're listening, you're not getting taught any of this nasty stuff tomorrow. You know.
Is Sean coming tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You won't even have to. You know something? You'll see Sean, and we won't even have to tell you it's Sean. You'll just be like, "Oh, there's Sean."
You'll see the maniac, the
Well, I know
bald,
that. I
blue-eyed
know
man.
Sean. I know
Oh,
Sean.
you know.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
You've seen the professional side of Sean. You haven't seen the
Yeah, don't-
maniac side of Sean.
I think you need a motorcycle for that. A 200 horsepower motorcycle.
Yeah, you see, he needs that machine to
Let go of
stay
his-
stable.
yes.
Yeah, if he didn't have that contraption to let loose on, then goodness
He'd
knows
be
he'd be in
playing-
jail.
More character
playing.
than this one, you know.
He'd be playing in the next Road Warrior, right?
Yeah.
So coming over here and teaching, do you have like a? Obviously, you don't know.
No, I know
necessarily
nothing.
what's coming. Who's going to be standing in front of you tomorrow in the seminar? If it's going to be a massive amount of high Dan grades, predominantly Q grades. Maybe there's some younger kids. When you travel, do you have a set idea of what you're going to do? Do you plan ahead of what you want to teach, or do you wait and see what's in front of you before you do it? Do you wait for the inspiration to come to you, like, while as the
Usually
class
it's
begins?
the last answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I to prepare something in advance, it happens. Sometimes you have a piece of paper where you write all the class that you're going to be doing, and you're only going to be standing in the front, the first part of it, because you develop from that part.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the people and you think, man, I thought they'd be understanding exactly what I meant at the beginning, and they don't.
Mm-hmm.
So why go further ahead if they don't understand the first part?
Yeah.
So, and sometimes you just go, okay, we're not going to be, 100% on that, but we need to try the other ones after. And then you restart that on your own when I'm not there, and you retry it. But it all depends. It all depends. It depends on the age, depends on the maturity of the people in front of you. They don't have the same maturity, of course. And technically or age-wise.
Yeah.
And how about if there is a massive ability, like say if there's what would you call it, a bell curve? If there's a broad range, a broad spectrum in front of you of ability, you have white belts and 6 dans in the same class.
Yeah.
How do you approach that situation?
I'm just going to ask you, sometimes you have 6 dan in a dojo that are as good as the orange belts sometimes. Or the green
You need
belts.
to have to give us specifics here. What are you talking about?
The dans at a certain point, they don't mean much. They see, it's sometimes they've been doing the same thing as when they were orange belt. It's just they're doing it faster. But the knowledge behind it, they haven't gone further ahead on certain movement.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not judging anybody when I'm saying that. It's just that it's usually what's happening, because I've been, traveling quite a bit and seeing different instructors over the years and being flatly disappointed by some of high grade people where,
For example?
for example, 2003,
They're not gonna listen.
going back to one seminar that I went to with Kanazawa Sensei in Maine, and they were 7th degree black belt showing stuff that did not make sense. But they kept on explaining the same way as if they were orange belt. Same thing, same technique. There were no changes, evolution, progression. Everything was the same as the recipe of a white, yellow, orange belt. Same recipe. Nothing new.
So when
Same
I
game.
asked, what do you do when there's a broad range of abilities, you said, there's
never-
never a broad range.
there might be. Yeah, there might be.
Yeah.
I mean, and I have to admit that this dojo here, people are really good.
Ah,
Yes.
Stop
Will
it.
you get out with that?
Yeah, there are. Compared to, it doesn't matter if the instructor has a big name, if the students are not listening and not changing anything. The students are not as good, I've been to dojos with the name of the instructor is just fantastic.
For
But you look at the
example.
students, but you look at the students and you go, well, that's the best they can do, and that's all. But I'm not there for that, anyways. I'm usually if I go for a seminar and I'm there as a student, I just look. I'm thinking only of me, myself, and I. I need to improve. I need to know more, because it's always a search of, can I get out of that place and learn something out of there, instead of just I paid $10 and I didn't learn anything.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, like, to answer Rue's question, like teaching kind of groups that have a very mixed ability, like when like Guy Sensei said, when you have 6 dans who really are struggling to cope with fundamental concepts, that's the most difficult, because they think they know stuff and they don't. Whereas when you're teaching 6 dans with a group of lower grades and they're really good 6 dans, then they really appreciate nuance and refined movement, and you can teach a really nuanced class just about Oizuki, or for example Oizuki, and the low grades are going, right, okay, I'm learning Oizuki, and the high grades are going, right, I'm really trying to connect my muscle chain or my whatever you're teaching at the time. So it's much easier to teach a group which has a broad spectrum of abilities than teach a group with a similar ability but a broad spectrum of grades,
Yeah.
I think.
Cool.
In French, please.
I only know one word in French.
Je peux le traduire plus tard.
Oh, fancy guy.
That was me just saying
That's
that
the first
then.
time anybody's ever told me that.
Fancy guy.
Fancy guy. So I know that some of our listeners are interested in sort of the organizational side of karate. Which organization do you belong to, Guy Sensei?
My own.
Oh, your own?
Yeah, my own.
See,
I
you're
formed mine about, 1995,
Oh,
actually.
wow.
Yeah. We were all SKI for a while. I started with just Shotokan with Tsuruka Sensei in Canada. My instructor was with Tsuruka Sensei, which Tsuruka is the father of Canadian karate.
Mm-hmm.
He died a few years ago at the age of 85, 88. I can't remember exactly. and he was one of the first guy in karate. That's it, in Canada. There were other guys, but he formed actually the Canadian Association, and he was a Canadian Japanese, and he learned karate with Chitose Sensei, Chitoryu. But the Shotokan was getting huge in North America, and he wanted to be part of the boat, so he changed the Chitoryu to Shotokan after a while. So it was a mix-up of karate around Canada. People were with him. Some stayed Chitoryu, and some went Shotokan. And the JKA came over like a big cloud and just rained Shotokan all over Canada. And so some people joined the JKA, and we were Shotokan from that moment on. And I started Shotokan 1979, and after that, my instructor decided to go with the Japanese umbrella, and went with the SKIF, used to be SKI, Kanazawa Sensei's group, and it went well for quite a while. But it's all because of the politics of the company. And then we just decided to quit. And then I stayed with my instructor for a couple of years, and I said, I'm quitting with him as well. And then I was alone for a while, but I formed my association, Shotokan Canada. And then I met a guy who transformed my karate again. Steve Ubel, yeah. I was like a reborn karateka. So I had to undo my own house, take away all the bricks that were not fitting well, and redo as much as I could. And I still work on that as well today, over 20 years after that.
So you're a professional instructor.
I do that for a living.
And you're also the head of your own organization.
Jawohl.
And how much of your job how much of your job is running the organization, and how much of your job is teaching martial arts?
It's very much not politic.
Okay.
It's.
I'm happy to
That's
hear that.
one thing I like about this organization that you all have under Sensei Scott. That it's more about learning karate and enjoying the life as a scientist in the martial arts, where you need to learn positive and always being open to see that there might be something good in jiu-jitsu, karate, boxing, judo, anything that can, and other karate instructors, and there's way too much jealousy, unfortunately. And you can keep an open mind on that, and then you go, well, I didn't think of that movement before that way, and this guy brought something new to the table, and that's how I see things as well. So you need to be open on everything and how to teach.
And since starting your own group, have you managed to avoid completely those sort of nasty sort of political problems that come with it?
Yeah.
Or like completely managed to avoid it?
Yeah. The only thing you have to do is do exactly what I say. That's it. No politics. No, I'm kidding. But it's, you try to show something to your students, and there's one thing that I tell them often: don't say "us" if you don't understand. How many students are in the class and they look at the instructor and they say "us," but the message just passed right over their heads without understanding what the real meaning of that explanation was. It's just that it's the robotic "us" answer that they give, but there's no real understanding. And then you would ask them at the end of a class, what did I mean by this? And you'll have 5 different answers or no answers whatsoever on that explanation, or the plan of the class was this, and some people will just pass right next to it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it happens more often than not.
Yeah, when you said that, it made me. I was thinking, oh dear, because sometimes,
people like
kids.
looks like deers as well. Yeah, they're just like.
I teach kids predominantly, and I use us. I have them use us just to show that they're listening, rather than that they understand. Because I mean, most of the time, I'm sure it's not that cognitively difficult to understand. I'm just saying, oh, your Maigeri, you need to snap more. It looks floppy. So don't do a floppy kick, do a snappy kick. Do you understand? And they all go, oh,
And many instructors, you know, you see that on the internet. They'll go, "You understand what I mean? You're not just," and they go, "Oh, it's by, you know, by politeness."
Yeah.
And rare people will go, "No, I don't. Could you explain it in another way where I can have an understanding of what you're saying, which should be very interesting, or will help me?" But most people just don't. They think, if I say that I don't understand, I will look stupid in front of the rest of the gang. But by asking that question, maybe you're helping 80% of the people. And they go, "Oh, that's what he meant by that." And I used to do that with my own instructor. I was the senpai, and I used to listen to him, you know, give him an explanation, and way too long explanations. He spoke too long, and people were just going in clouds, and they're probably thinking of pizza, spaghetti, and anything like that. But they were not in the karate world, because he went everywhere else but the point. And then I just look at him, and I didn't listen to the instructor because I knew exactly where he was going with that. But I was looking at all the other people looking at him and tried to listen, and they were not there. It's like glazed eyes. And then I go, "Oh, Sensei, do you mean by that blah, 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 blah?" And said, "Yes." And people go, "Oh, okay, now I understand." And it was simple as that. So to me, the simple, stupid explanation is the best. And you use icons. Like I would say, happy face. Everybody's got an happy face in their brain. Or a fire hydrant. Everybody's got a fire, and things like that. And sometimes kids will say something to me, and the image is so fantastically fast that everybody would understand. I was explaining sometime Mawa Shigiri many years ago, like 20-some years ago, and a kid about 6 years old said to me, "Oh, Sensei, it looks like the Mawa Shigiri. It looks like a kid that, a dog that, you know, pees on a fire hydrant." And I go, "That's it. That's it, perfect. That's exactly the image you should have." Everybody laughed, but the laughing part was the answer of, "I understand," right? Like you just did. And most of the times you would be doing, and often more than you think, you'd be doing something on a daily basis that's not connected to karate. And you'd go, "Well, if I connect that to karate, like driving, and let's say you're always watching in the road to see if there's somebody coming, and you don't see at the corner because you're turning a corner and there might be, but you're thinking ahead that you might be in trouble." Well, in karate might be if you used your karate this way, like preventive, or especially for motorcyclists, for instance, they have to think like a sixth sense of what's not there but might happen, and then prevent being killed. And if you use that, it's an example, of course, but you use that in karate, you would be better at it too, because you're not doing something that's reactive. Like it's always a reaction to something that happens. Well, if you do that while you drive a motorcycle, you're dead. "Oh, there's a car. Maybe I..." End of the sentence. Right there.
First thought, yeah.
Ichinen. First thought.
First thought. Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're at over 50 minutes. Is there anything you'd like to ask Guy Sensei, Scott Sensei? Or would you rather save it for your Q&A?
I think you'll
on
find
Sunday?
that before this podcast is aired, we'll have done a Q&A, and I shall have already revealed exactly what I want to ask. Sunday, 6 p.m. Tune in.
Yeah, well,
You've tuned in. It was
What's
great.
my favorite rock band?
For those of you who
My
missed
colour.
the live Q&A, will it be on your Facebook page?
It will be on my.
For those of you who missed the live Q, just listen to us. You know, it's all right.
At least they'll get my visual jokes on the live Q&A.
Yeah.
Okay, so we always finish our podcast, or have a section of the podcast called Fail of the Week. So a fail.
Aren't you going to do your jingle?
Yes, and it's like, so I think it's time that we do the fail of the week.
That's it, that's the jingle.
So my fail of the week was A pretty obvious one. My favourite of the week was I actually got punched by Rue this week for the first time ever. Punched by Rue.
Oh, come on, I've punched you before.
Nah, not like that. We were doing a nice light, sort of easy, sort of warm down in morning training, show weapon practice. Very, very friendly, I thought. And as per usual, we start and I'm 1-0 up within seconds. And unknown to me, Rue kicked it up a couple of gears. I was still in my nice, happy, I've just trained, warm down space. And next thing you know, he's climbing on top of me like a rabid squirrel.
He looked like a wee man climbing the north face of the Eiger.
Hey, is this my fail of the week or Ross's fail of the week?
And I got punched, and I didn't react fast enough. I was too in too relaxed a state, and I'm a bit embarrassed, I have to say. So well done, Rue.
Well, thanks. Well, don't say well done because that's my fail of the week. My fail of the week, folks, is that I, like an absolute donkey, walloped Ross in the face and split his eyebrow, and he was gushing blood, and there was lots of drama, lots of screaming and gnashing of teeth. Everybody was very upset, especially.
What's in your mind?
Yeah, we find that we all reacted pretty calmly.
Inside of him.
Yeah, I think you'll find we all started taking the mick immediately.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but it was very embarrassing.
And of course, very professional first aid team here at the Hombu Dojo.
Yeah,
We're all first aid trained, and my eye was back to normal within seconds.
Yeah.
And you have a question for Jean Phillipe or something like that? The poor guy's been standing there for the whole thing.
Are your legs tied?
Jean Phillipe, you train with Guy Sensei.
Yeah.
Come closer.
You have to come closer.
To the microphone.
You train with Guy Sensei. What's the worst thing about his teaching?
My breath.
Oh boy, that starts hard.
You should have said nothing. You should have said nothing.
You've started, so please finish.
He clearly has a long list to go through. He's
To
just taking
narrow
a
it
deep
down.
breath.
I would tell you, I'm training with Guy Sensei since 1998, so it's been quite a while. I was coming from another school before and so on, and I was I think I am probably still, but I was even more of a shy guy at this time. Had a lot of
Very serious dude.
very serious, lot
Yeah.
of problem to relax, and so karate time for me was very serious.
Never
time,
laughed.
and I
Never
would-
cracked a smile. Never at all.
Yeah, maybe
Never.
it's the way I learned before or something, but for me, it's not about the worst thing, but I would say the hardest thing for me was to learn that a dojo could be just an everyday place, like a place you have training, of course, but you have fun as well, and you have everything that you have in normal life. And so by this attitude, I started to get to the dojo much more often, because in the old me, dojo was a specific piece of the day in which you come, you bow, you do your things, you're stressed all the time, you're very like this, and then
Stoic. Yeah.
and then you bow at the end, and then you go out, and then you can be your normal you. And so it was very hard for me at the beginning to see Sensei cracking a joke in the middle of the class, being so relaxed, being so normal, not like you would imagine a Sensei being very serious and putting pressure and so on. So it was a learning for me, and it really changed my attitude towards karate and the open-mindedness as well that you have, Guy, to just like we're today discussing about many things and exchanging ideas and not being stuck in a linear stream that is always the same. So with him being so being in the dojo like you are in the normal life, that made me curious, like I am in my normal life. So I've that way explored boxing, MMA, judo, many things, and many different approaches, different senseis as well. So this is why I'm here, because I'm curious. I want to see other things, is this you gonna teach tomorrow?
I
You came all
heard,
this way to-"
yeah, I heard. They invited me over for breakfast. Only breakfast. I go back afterwards.
So yeah, that
Brexit
was-
breakfast, or I can't, like something, one of the two.
Don't mention Brexit. We got all the way through without mentioning Brexit.
That's a big.
You said it 3 times.
That's your fail of the week right there.
But I'm French. I don't understand everything you say, man.
We should have been talking to Jean Phillipe earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should have jumped in.
Yeah, it would be more interesting than what we just said. Of course. No, I remember having him around. He was a young 18 years old. And I was looking at him, and he never cracked a smile. And my thing was, before the end of the class, he's going to smile. And I was just trying to find the right joke and being serious and then shoot something. It was obviously so funny that it had to. And then it worked. And then it worked better and easier after that. And then he got to relax more. And he was a very good student from day one, actually. Unfortunately, he lives like 8-9 hours away from me in the upper part of Quebec, and Quebec is cold, and it's far, and I mean, it's a huge province of Canada, and we don't see each other too often, unfortunately. But I enjoy him here.
Very nice he could travel with you this time, yeah?
Well, he's here for business, but he just
We made it
came here.
happen. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh,
Excellent. Very good. Looking forward to training tomorrow then.
Thank you very much for that interview.
That'd be great. No, thank you very much for coming on. That was fun. Very nice, relaxed, informative. Very good. Very good.
Time to say goodbye.
Time to say goodbye, yeah.
Okay. Thanks for listening, folks.
Thanks,
From
folks. Thank you
Hombu
very much.
Dojo, Guy Brodeur Sensei, Jean Phillipe.
And
Ciao.
thanks, Scott Langley, for inviting me over here. And
I said from the Hombu Dojo, you were included in that.
He
way
does
he
not
looks
know.
at me,
He
guys.
does not know, Sensei. He does not know. He's,
Sorry, I didn't say anything then. I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah.
So I think you're going a bit mad. Maybe a few more punches to the head would help.
can we film?
We're going to have to start filming these like Joe Rogan, otherwise, you know. Oh, yeah. All right.
Okay.
Deep bows and usses.
oh,
Bye.